Welcome to the podcast, Petia. I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for coming on.
Super excited to be here, Emily, today.
Yeah. So I would love to hear from you first to really ground us and to start off with, how do you define abundance? What does that mean to you when you're supporting clients and when you're creating abundance with the mindset in your own life?
Such a beautiful question. And I love that you were asking, I love how you put the question, how do I define it? Because it's so different for each and every one of us. Because in the past, if you would ask me 5-10 years ago, when I was still living in my scarcity, I would say abundance is having more money, right? Now, when someone asks me what abundance means to me, how do I define it? For me, it's the life that I have created, waking up with no alarm, being able to work from home, traveling anywhere, being able to retire my mom when my grandma was still here, being able to take care of her, buy her all the groceries. So for me, it's like the freeze of expression of my spirit and who I came here to be. And part of it, it's of course being abundantly paid to be me. But I feel like I realized on my journey that money, it's not the motivator. Money, it's a beautiful tool for me.
Oh, I love that. That is so, expansive and feels so true to you, those specific examples you shared. And yeah, I love how it's an expression of you and your power too. And I think just thinking of it in terms of money can be very limiting and also a bit difficult to connect to that type of energy, right? Is that something you see?
Absolutely, and I feel like most of my upbringing, I was struggling with when, people said oh, it's just the energy. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean money is energy? I'm like, it's in my bank account. It's there, it's. So for me, I had to shift my relationship with money. And first, even acknowledge I did not have relationship with money. I was ignoring it. I was putting it on the back burner. And I always said I used to treat money as a booty call, because now I want you, now I don't, now you come, now you go. But there was no respect. There was no appreciation. There was always this feeling of not enoughness. And then I really had to check in with myself and ask, would I want to be treated the way I'm treating money? Heck no. And most of us, even when we start to build a relationship, there are times that we're still treating money the way that we wouldn't want to be treated. So I had to really redefine that. And to do that, what we created with my husband almost half a decade ago now was a money date. We created a beautiful ritual, because I feel like any single time that we want to grow something, we get to grow relationship with it, right? We get to show up differently, and we get to show up in a way how we want to be seen and treated. So in the past, I tried to track my money and things like that and spreadsheets, and I just hated it. I'm not a spreadsheet kind of girl.
Yeah.
Loves it, so I'm like, you go. But for me, when we created it a weekly beautiful ritual, then it started to be fun. Then I started to look forward to it. We created we have I can show you, but we have a beautiful candles, money, abundance.
I love that.
Which are magic candles. And we got beautiful incenses in Bali when we been there, a couple of years ago. So it's literally a beautiful ritual of connection, remembrance.
I love
And
that.
it's a very loving energy versus oh, I gotta check my bank accounts and I didn't get the payment that I wanted. There is no there is an invitation for abundance that it's expansive.
Yeah.
But also very real. It's not everything, it's picture perfect, but where are we? Because when you know where you are, you can shift and pivot, versus so many of us, and I see it as a big block to attracting more abundance in our life. We're not being honest with ourselves, and we are ignoring and neglecting our abundance now. Again, money, it's a part of it, but abundance in itself, it's your relationship, your health, the people that you get to work with, and how you're feeling. I feel like the essence of abundance, it's truly feeling. Am I feeling expansive? Am I feeling full of myself in the best way? Because I don't know about you, Emily, but I feel like so many of us women, we are shrinking ourselves. We're like, like, I don't want to rub people the wrong way. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be seen. And we're hiding.
Yeah.
Like, expand into your being and who you came here to be. That is true abundance. And the best part of it is when you expand into the wholeness of your being, you become magnetic. What
Yeah.
does it mean? You
Yeah.
become attracting the people, the money, the opportunities, the fun things. It's amazing, like the things that we've been able to attract in our life with my husband, because we were just magnetic.
Yes. Ooh, so much goodness there. And I think that is really helpful to understand that you can be aware of your money relationship and hold reverence for it for during these rituals. And I think myself included, I've gotten better about weekly checking everything I've spent. But yeah, it's a spreadsheet. So am I excited to do it? No. Do I not look forward to it at all? Yeah. And so I love that this is about connecting with that energy while also getting honest with yourself. And that was so perfect, as you touched on magnetism, as that was going to be my next question, is how do you define magnetism? And I think there are things that are unique to women who really identify with their feminine essence. And I love how you were explaining that it's really about expanding into your wholeness and expressing yourself, your true essence. How do you view magnetism?
It's beautiful because like you kind of like touch
Yeah.
on the parts of it, and I feel like it's the full self-expression as it in itself, and it's the wholeness. It's not just the feminine energy, it's our wholeness. So it's the yin and yang, it's the feminine, it's the masculine, it's the beautiful, loving, and nurturing, and it's the witch in me when I'm moody and like as my
Yeah.
husband, when I'm acting like 5-year-old, right? And when
Yeah.
it's like I want it now, it's just like it's the wholeness. And for the first time in my life, of course, first by me, but then my husband was able to see that, love me in all of my dimensions. And this
Yeah.
is something that we have to start with ourselves. I had to first love myself in all of my dimensions, and doing the shadow work, which just means like there's like so much information you can ask Uncle Google, right? It's like overflowing.
Yeah.
But I feel like when we are being honest with ourselves, shadow work is like accepting
Yeah.
everything about us, not just the parts that are pretty, not just the parts that we're getting praised for, but the parts that we would rather hide, the parts that we would rather people not to know. And when we can embrace that in a wholeness, like, hey, this is me,
Mm.
then you can become magnetic to everything that it's in your highest good. Because the thing is that when we are hiding parts of ourselves, it's like that saying, like, what you resist persists, right? So when you're hiding your shadows, when you're hiding the imperfect part of you, life is going to bring you more of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that definition so much. Like you're more powerful when you're owning all aspects of yourself instead of hiding and trying to pretend they don't exist. It's just like very powerful energy to be able to hold that.
Mhm.
And would love to hear from you. I know you do a lot of work with generational healing, and I love to hear more about how does the path of generational healing, what are some of the things that get in the way of abundance and magnetism?
Mhm. Such a beautiful question. And it's something that I've been like noticing in my own life and also in my clients, because sometimes when I was working with women, they were doing like all the right things. You can check off the list, like I'm doing my meditations, I'm taking care of myself, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the strategies. And still the abundance wasn't flowing in their life. And what we have realized through like inner work, and I use different modalities like breathwork, hypnosis, guided meditations, and we realize that some things that we are holding on in this lifetime are not even ours. It
Yeah.
can be from our parents, grandparents, but also I had experiences of my clients from a past lives. because the thing is that when I'm working with my clients, it's not just like I have an MBA in business and marketing. I am also very intuitive, like intuitive psychic. So when I'm working with my clients, I can feel into them. I can feel into things. And it's like I'm in the middle of the session with my client. I was like, wait a minute, like I'm seeing this. Like I saw like my client in the 16th century sitting on the bridge, because we were trying to see like, she was an artist, really amazing, talented artist. And she was doing so much work like around money. And they were still like feeling like something is blocking, and I'm like, you're doing the work, you are showing up, there's something else. So as we were talking about it, I saw a vision of her as a very young little girl sitting like in the mud, like, and it looked like old, like a London or Paris bridge, and she was like shivering and she was like afraid for her life. So she was experiencing the hunger, the starvation, the lack, and she was afraid to be seen. So now she, in this lifetime, she is an amazing, beautiful artist. And if you're not seen as artist, like who is going to buy your art? So there was this, and it was not from this lifetime. So
Right.
like having these glimpses, it's so beautiful and powerful. And it's not like, okay, at 11, I'm channeling today. It just comes through, So I feel like it's also like the beauty of my work, that it's not all, I always feel like strategies, it's like cherry on the top. I tell them,
Yeah.
like, you can learn about the how, ask Uncle Google, look at YouTube,
Yeah.
for them Petia,
Yeah.
But the depth you can get when you do the generational healing, and it starts with you, because when we can heal you, when we can look at the past, when we can look at the things that were hurting, the things that might be scaring you, again, this lifetime or past lifetimes, you can break the generational, I don't want to say curses, but like patterns,
Yeah.
And there's the saying that when you heal, you're healing 7 generational forward and 7 generation backwards. So we are not doing the work only for ourselves, but for the future generations.
Yeah. Oh, that is so powerful. And yeah, like you said, I think that most of us don't realize that there are these past life patterns that live within us. And especially as women, I think as intuitive women, maybe even star seeds, like there are these patterns of wanting to hide. And I know that's a big part of your work and mine too, because we were conditioned to do that. And so when you're doing you have your intuition that's guiding you through this generational healing, what modalities are you using? Like, how can we really rewrite these patterns?
Mm-hmm. So I love that you ask this way, and I will share the modalities that I'm using with my one-on-one coaching client, but something that anyone can do, it's look at the results that you're experiencing right now in your life, and look at what feelings and belief led you into that. We really get to keep checking in, because the thing is that the belief that I might have 5 years ago, or even yesterday, right, might be serving me then, but it's not serving me anymore. So we get to check in, and I will give you like very like personal example. Me and my husband, we are like building a new offer. We will be starting mastermind in a March. And my belief in the past was that the less I work, the more money I make. I love that belief, because I love that we have multiple 6-figure business and I'm working 2 days a week, 3 top, Now, because we're building new launch, a new offer, we're investing more time with our team, training our new people and things like that. So I was working like for 4 days a week. I was like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And I haven't noticed that there was like a dip of an income. We're still like abundant. And I could feel the difference between like people like, oh, December, it's a slow month. We had multiple 5 figures, what are you talking about? Slow. But then I saw like the trend in January. I was like, wow, this is interesting. Like this looks slower. And I'm like, wow, what belief led me there? So first I look at the result. I'm like, okay, January, it's a little bit lower than December. What beliefs led me there? I check in with what I'm feeling and what I'm believing. I'm like, well, my belief is that the less I work, the more money I make. what does that make it true? That when I do extra work, I make less money. Is that real truth? It's not. So I had to rewrite it, and I wrote like a mantra, like an affirmation, but Proctor is using it, about like, my income is increasing in, like on a continuous basis from expected and unexpected sources. And that has nothing to do with how much work I put in, right?
Right.
But you see, it's like, no matter where you're on your journey, you gotta check in with your beliefs, because trust me, I love the belief that the less I work, the more money I make, because I'm coming from a very small country, a small town in Czech Republic.
Wow.
And I was raised on a belief that the harder you work, the more money you make. And I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that, because like, people are like slaving and, living for a weekend and living for a vacation. And I saw the contrast, and I saw what it did to families, to relationships. I was like, I don't want this. So if I don't want this, what I want is opposite. But again, that means that I'm not embracing the wholeness.
Right.
It's a full circle. When you can embrace the wholeness, then you can receive no matter what. But I was putting my abundance on pause, because like, well, now I work, now I'm not receiving money.
Wow, what a beautiful example. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I can relate. I think that, seeing my family also work really hard, and, living in the US too, it's a big part of it. But also as women, I think we aren't designed to be on that time of that kind of setup of working 5 days a week, And so I love that you have this awareness. And I think that's really helpful for my listeners who, kind of not make it personal and just see like things happening in your life like that and say, okay, why is that happening? What belief led to that? And then taking the steps to, rewrite that. And that is so, so incredible. And I think it's also empowering to know that you can make monies in these ways, going back to the abundance piece, that feels best for you. And that is what makes you magnetic, is when you are accepting of, that's what would feel right for me. And I think with women, that we don't even, normally give ourselves permission to do that.
Yes. And it's so true. And I feel like many of my clients, when they come to me, like they come and they're like, I want to make more money. I want to have more clients, blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to attract the love of my life. And they're like very specific, like, when this and this happened, then I will be happy. I'm like, you won't, let me prove you.
Yeah.
But the thing is that, like what I'm seeing and what I'm noticing, it's like women are struggling with receiving.
Yes.
Because we're so much in our masculine. And listen, there's nothing wrong with masculine. There is nothing wrong with feminine. What I feel like we get to learn, it's dance between those two. We got to learn when we go and when we flow. There is a time for just the feminine flow and receiving. And there is a time like, I'm launching an offer. I will be showing up more. I will be selling more on my stories. I'll be sharing more in my emails. And there is a time that, like, we are making masculine or feminine wrong.
Yeah.
They're not wrong, right? But so many women and of my clients, they're struggling with receiving, because I work with so many beautiful like coaches and service providers, and they're so gifted. And it's challenging for women at the beginning to charge for what comes to them easily.
Right.
So I feel like it's the part of like receiving, learn to receive, learn to tap into your feminine. It's like going back into the feminine. And when you can embrace your wholeness with the feminine, then we can look at the strategy, then we can look at the cells, but we cannot look at the strategies and cells and like what will make a difference if you're not in your feminine open to receive. Like, doesn't matter what I give you. If you're not open to receive, you're not going to receive anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Not making either one wrong or right. I think that is what I see so many women do too, is making it, oh, I'm too much in my feminine, nothing's happening. I'm too much in my masculine. Now I'm getting burnt out. And even for myself, I have found, the days where I don't listen to my body and I push and push, I actually do end up making less. And it's actually when I just like stop running around that like, abundance and in all forms can flow through and then I can receive. And so I would love to hear from you, what is your advice for my listener who is looking to call in certain things like you're talking about a relationship or success in their business and their career? How do you start to bring this into your reality? Is there anything that you have that you can recommend as tips to get started?
I love that question. And it's going to like really depend on who you are.
Yeah,
And that's when I like bring into my business human design. I love doing
I
human
love
design.
human design. Yeah.
Beautiful modality, because like I'm a specific like sacral generator. So when I started my business and I didn't have an idea 6 years ago about human design and practicing it, I was teaching it in a way that worked for me, but it doesn't work for everyone. So now I am teaching my clients to go back to their essence and to really understand themselves. So with all of my clients, we dive deeper into human design so they can understand, because then it will depend if you're specific or non-specific manifester, and me being specific, when I'm manifesting anything in my life, I go into so much detail. Like, for example, a couple months ago, we moved into this dream home. We lived in Mexico. We moved back to Las Vegas. And when we were manifesting this, because me and my husband, we're both specific manifestors, we are like, we sat down and we look at the Pinterest, we created a vision board, we journal about it. And we are like, we want a bedroom, we want a like 5-bedroom home, and we want like light walls, and we want spacious, high ceiling. We want a lot of plants, a lot of light, a lot of spaciousness. I wanted the gray floor. I wanted the white kitchen. I want a white marble. Like I was like so specific. And that's exactly what we got. And even like my husband, he wanted a house in a cul-de-sac. Like we were so specific. We have a house in a cul-de-sac.
Wow.
So it's like, for us, it's very easy to, it's like asking the universe and like, okay, this is my order. This is what I want. When you're not specific manifester in a human design, and you can see that, like you can do your test, you can message me. I also do like, here and there readings, but you can look at the arrows that you have like around your head when you take your test, like the one on the bottom on the right, whether it's facing to the right and to the left, will tell you if you're feminine, or if you're masculine, and meaning like if you're specific or non-specific, So it's so easy to look at it, because for non-specific, like if I will tell you, like create all of this, what I just told you, you'll get overwhelmed and like, I can do that, right? But when you're non-specific, you're like, okay, I'm meant to be more general and I'm meant to tap into the feelings. So if I'm manifesting 5 bedrooms with a high ceiling, some cul-de-sac, with a big backyard, with the greens and grass, you as a non-specific, you will say like, I would love to feel safe in my home. I would love to live in a city, or I would love to live close to the water. Like it's going to be more general. And it's like you telling the universe, like, this is how I want to feel. Bring me this or something even better. So it's very freeing. And I feel like even like my non-specific friends or clients, like they're manifesting even better things that they could imagine, because they're not specific. They're not locking themselves into the vision. So whatever you're manifesting, first know thyself, know what way do you manifest, and then follow that, by design, and like feel into that, but really start acting as it already is. Because the thing is, Emily, when we say like, I want a relationship, I want more clients, what are you declaring? I don't have that. So you're declaring the lack of it in your life. But I started to, even when I was manifesting, 5 years ago, my husband, like I didn't know manifesting him, I was manifesting a man. It's my life. I was journaling and I would write down, like, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm in loving, loyal relationship with a man who is family oriented, who is faithful, who is healthy, who is entrepreneurial, like so many details. Like he loves hiking, he loves dogs, he wants kids, he loves shopping. What man loves shopping, right? So literally manifested my dream man. And it was like, gratitude for how I feel. I didn't say I want him to be 6 foot and like black hair, green eyes, because if I would do that, I would like, looking at my husband, I would never like manifest the man he is if I would go for the specifics, but I was going for the feeling. And I'm so thankful because he is everything I ever desired and so much more.
Beautiful. Yeah, your relationship is so expansive. I'm like, okay, I want to work on manifesting something like that. That sounds so incredible. And
we help with my husband, like clients to do that. I had we hosted actually a retreat when we went in Tulum, True Love in Tulum, and we were like, even like separately on the other note, like we have a client who she was manifesting a relationship because she was in one and it wasn't like, she was like, I know this is not it. And like she messaged me like a few weeks ago, she was like, Petia, I think I met my future husband. I'm like, I'm inviting myself to the wedding, but it's like, so it's really beautiful.
it's so beautiful. And I love how you share that everyone is different and everyone's human design really dictates like how they approach manifesting. And a good reminder for me, because I'm a non-specific manifestor. And I think with, the new year, I got really, I had all the Pinterest boards and I had all the notes. And then I did remember like everything I've ever called in has been a feeling and it will always show up way different. So I was thinking, I want to be in a tiny home in this specific community. And I just get there's like a sense of that, but it will probably be something so different. And that's just a great reminder to anyone that feels like, that they have to have the vision board and the exact qualities, that if you're non-specific, that actually you can surrender a lot more.
So beautiful. And I love that you know yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a non-specific reflector.
Wow.
5-1. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm 5'1" too. I'm also 5'1".
Oh,
Yay.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, that changed my life once I figured out I was a reflector, and then it gave me so much insight and grace and like how to make decisions and how to take care of my energy. So I highly recommend my listener to run your human design chart, figure out what that is, and that will give you more insight into yourself.
It's life-changing, really. And I
Yeah.
love it. I had a couple clients who are reflectors, and it's so special, like to witness them. It's so powerful.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I definitely have loved connecting with fellow reflectors and feeling very seen. Um, yeah, and my last question for you is, this is, related to the manifesting process. How do you stay in a mode of trust and faith and surrender, as I just mentioned, because I know there's our own timeline and then there's the universe's timeline. And what are your recommendations for being in that space?
I love that question so much. And it's so fascinating. We were just talking about it like with my husband today, like how can you keep walking in faith even when the things are not showing up as quickly or again on your timeline? So I feel like we get to always remind ourselves to pause and look back in the times that we wanted something that we're so happy we didn't got. Because so often we are celebrating like, oh, I'm so happy. I manifested my dream relationship. I manifested my dream soulmate clients, my house, blah, blah, blah. But we are not celebrating, thank God that we didn't get the things we thought that we wanted. So we gotta say, like, like how happy I am that I didn't get some things that I wanted. And that will really help you to surrender and to trust that there is a divine timeline, and you will understand why things didn't happen. Like that was like a huge lesson for me last year, because last year I got pregnant, before summer. And then 2 months later, we lost our babies. We had twins. So that was super hard for me. Like, how do you want to walk in faith when you're experiencing such a loss and grief? But for me, like looking back, like I know that now that when we are like going to have a baby, it's going to be so much better, because before we were traveling, we were, like changing our business structure, and we did not have the system, the support system that we have now. So it was one of the most painful experiences in my life. And I also understand why the baby soul didn't choose to stay, because now we are so much more ready and equipped. And it's just, even when you don't understand, you really get to tap into that trust. And again, look at the times that something didn't work the way you wanted it, and you're glad it didn't.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that is really a testament to your faith with the universe and whoever you view as your higher power, because I'm a huge believer in that too. Nothing that is meant for us in the right time misses us. And so if the timing isn't aligned, then that's something to also reflect on. And I love that example of looking back and seeing the times where you thought you needed something like at this specific time, and you thought you knew, and really you didn't know. And so I think that's a really empowering shift to take, and a way for you, because the whole part about manifesting is holding that faith, and is even when the things that you want that don't show up in the time you want, like still keeping that faith and living your life like living as if. So yeah, thank you for sharing that example. I think everything teaches us too, to grow and to really evaluate how we want to be in our lives. And like you said, the structures, and create the systems for these things to come through.
Mm-hmm. So beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So, Petia, where can my listener find you? And do you have any offerings that you'd like to share?
So my favorite place, really, it's Instagram. It's my unpronounceable name, Petia
Love
Kolibova.
it.
So Emily
Yeah,
is going to put it
so
in the show
good.
notes.
Yeah.
My website has everything too, petiakolibova.com, and my podcast, Unapologetically Abundant. Those are like the best places. Right now, what we're really focusing on is activating abundance in women. So I cleared up my schedule a little bit, and I'm doing, for right now, while my energy and, like schedule allows it, we created abundance activation process, that it's a free call that helps me to activate abundance in women. So I can send you
Cool.
while we have it available.
Yeah.
That's what I'm focusing on, because I truly want to awaken even more women into abundance, into their purpose, and create generational healing and world-changing abundance. That's just what turns me on, so
Yeah.
that's what we're focusing on. And I feel like that's where the true like mission and vision of life lies.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, it's so needed. I love the work that you're doing so much. It's so beautiful, and so glad we connected, Petia. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. Let me stop recording.